Welcome back to the kitchen. If you survived watching the first video with all of the audio issues that I had, you're a trooper, and hopefully this episode will be a little less choppy. So this week is a lot more calm than last week. I actually have time to kind of spread out my meal prep for the week. So I'm doing a few dishes today. We're going to do a few tomorrow. On deck for today's food that I'll be making, we're going to tackle a couple of Puerto Rican dishes. The first being Pollo Guisado, and then we're going to do Mojo Potatoes. And then I'm also trying to mix in quite a few different vegetarian items this week, just to kind of ease up. My husband and I went away for the weekend and ate horribly. So we're trying to go a little bit lighter this week. So I'll also be making a zucchini enchilada, replacing the tortillas with thin sliced zucchini. And then the filling, we're going to be using a beef substitute. So that's going to be completely vegetarian. So welcome back to the kitchen. It's likely there may be a few of you out there wondering why in the middle of August I am making a chicken stew. And for me, honestly, especially for meal prep, stews are one of the most versatile things that you can make as far as meal prep goes that doesn't include pasta. Now hear me out. I grew up in the Midwest. It is the land of meat, potatoes, and casseroles. However, I am married to somebody who hates casseroles. So in my quest to find something that is a one-pot meal that doesn't include a creamy sauce or pasta, I've landed on stews. And it's so easy to add rice to thicken it up a little bit and make the stew itself a complete meal. You can pair it with veggies. You can do a little bit more low carb and do it over cauliflower. It doesn't always have to be with potatoes and rice. So anyway, we're getting ready to sear the chicken for the chicken stew that we're making. And then once we have all of the chicken seared, we'll go ahead and sweat out the vegetables that we're adding. We'll build the sauce, and then you just simmer it for a little bit, and that's it. It's done. One thing I love about Latin cooking, the smells going on in this kitchen right now. I wish that you could smell what I'm smelling. It is so good. And the broth that we've built with all of the vegetables and the seasoning, it should taste almost perfect at this point. So now we have the base of the stew simmering. We're going to add the chicken back in and then let it sit and simmer on low for 30 minutes. So moving on to our Mojo potatoes, I wanted to share with you a few thoughts as to why I think some of us avoid cooking from scratch, and I honestly believe that it's simply because we psych ourselves out before we even begin. Do you know, every single time I chop an onion, I think of a certain TV chef that likes to yell a lot and had a cooking competition show. In one episode, he had contestants chop an onion to demonstrate their knife skills while he yelled at them from a platform. We've all seen too many of these types of shows, and so when we're in our kitchens at home, we're envisioning someone critiquing our knife skills, the precise dice of our onions, and if we're not perfect or if what we've made isn't Instagram worthy, we somehow feel like we've failed on some level. Please stop thinking that what you do in the kitchen has to be picture perfect, and just get in there. Do your best, learn along the way, and each time you make a dish, you're going to discover new ways to make it easier, tastier, and something that you're proud of. So just drizzle your potatoes with olive oil, toss in those chopped red onions, some red pepper flakes, and then season generously with salt. Remember that potatoes are very starchy and will taste very bland if you don't use enough salt to season them. Then you want to add your lime juice, a proper amount of garlic, and then stir it all together, mixing well. And then you drop it onto a piece of aluminum foil, sealed up like a little boat or canoe, and it's ready to pop in the oven. Seriously, I wish that you could smell these. The entire kitchen smells amazing. Typically with this stew, you leave the chicken on the bone with the skin. You serve it over rice or potatoes. In this family, there's a few people who will remain unnamed who do not like chicken that way, and they prefer it to be off the bone and shredded. So that's what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna take the chicken out now that it's been simmering for a half an hour. It's cooked through proper temperature. We're gonna take it off, shred the chicken, get rid of the bone and the skin, and then we're gonna add the chicken back, and then I'm going to slow simmer it to allow the sauce to thicken just a little bit. I don't want it too thick, but I also don't want it super watery. So before we get a little too far ahead of ourselves and start the zucchini enchiladas, we're gonna pause and do what everyone hates to do. We're gonna clean as we go. So I'm going to clean up all of this mess right here behind me, get everything nice and clear, and then get all the ingredients out to start prepping for the next dish. It's not my most beautiful work. It's not the worst. I mean, I guess they're rolls. Meh. The dish is very watery, so I don't know if it was the sauce I used, if it's the fact that we used a plant-based meat. Maybe it didn't soak in like it should. I do know that zucchinis are a very watery vegetable, so that might have affected it. This one might be a miss. I might have to tweak this a little bit.
Good morning, everybody. So we're on the road, just dropped my oldest off for preschool. Yeah. And now we're headed to the grocery store, gonna pick up groceries that are needed for the week. And then we go back home. It's gonna be a really busy day today. Gotta get ready for my trip tomorrow and then finish a lot of meal prep. It's all fairly easy stuff though, so it shouldn't be too hard. There's one dish that's a little bit more involved, but everything else is super easy.
So first we're just going to make a few common staples that I keep in the fridge for my girls as well. Rice and beans. We're going to marinate some chicken that we're going to grill later, so long as the rain holds off. And there is one dish today that's going to be a little bit more detailed. It's our vegetarian dish. And so I'll probably be making that later once my husband can be downstairs after being done with work. So there are a few different ways that you can do rice and beans. And for me, on a typical week, I usually do it with chopped up and seared kielbasa or a smoked sausage. You add a little bit of sofrito. I always get this in the frozen section at my grocery store. You can do a small container, larger one like I do because I go through it pretty quick. And you don't have to keep it frozen. You can put it in the fridge. It can be more of a sauce. I prefer to keep it frozen just because keeping track of expiration dates on condiments is not a strong suit for me. So, so we just do the sausage, the sofrito, And then a couple of cans of the Red Label kidney beans. This already has a little bit of seasoning in it, so it makes your life a little bit easier. Literally just open these up, dump them in. You don't get rid of the juice. You want the juice. And that's it. So making these beans really couldn't be any easier. You simply sear the kielbasa, add your beans, some sofrito, some adobo, give it a good stir, add a slice of American cheese, and that's it. You're done. Just simmer it until it's thickened a little bit. What are you doing, silly girl?
I think you'll go.
You're a silly girl.
I see you go.
Oh man. Are you gonna fall?
I found it.
Hi. Yeah, today is already quickly becoming a day. Back here picking up my daughter from preschool, and I've been awake since 6 this morning, running since 7. It's now noon, and I have managed to make beans. That's it. That's all I've gotten done for my meal prep so far is beans. So we've got a lot ahead of ourselves when we get back. My youngest was having a lot of tantrums this morning, so there was a lot of pausing in between everything. So hopefully now that she's down for a nap, I can just plow through like 2 or 3 dishes, get onto the laundry. There's a lot to do today. So I don't know how many of you grew up in the era of Hamburger Helper. When I was little, we didn't do a lot of name brand prepackaged foods. So when we did get Hamburger Helper, I felt super fancy. So I don't know. It was maybe, I think possibly sometime last year that I grabbed a box of it just for nostalgia's sake. Can we just say that I don't remember it tasting like that. It just tasted like cardboard. So what I'm making today right now, this is mainly for my girls. It's a homemade take on Hamburger Helper, but it tastes good. It doesn't taste like cardboard. So what I will do, just like I did with the braised beef and cheese tortellini, we're just going to make the sauce. And then whenever we choose to have the actual dish, whether it's while I'm gone or when I come back, whoever's serving it, you just make the pasta ahead of time. And while the pasta's cooking, you either warm this up, 1 second, sweetie. You either warm this up in the microwave or you can do it stovetop. Typically, once you're reheating a sauce, you want to add a little bit of water to it just to kind of help loosen it up, because this will thicken as it sits. Just a moment of being summoned. And again, this is such a simple, easy thing to make. Even if you're not doing a massive meal prep and you just want something really easy as a side dish or for dinner for the kids, this takes all of 15-20 minutes to make. So brown your beef. So before we move forward, you want to drain the grease. This is my solution for an easy way of draining grease from meat that you've cooked. If you have a dirty pan on standby, I mean, if it's clean when you use it too, whatever, but just get a lid, leave just a tiny, tiny crack, flip it, and let it drain. That way when it cools, you just wipe it into the trash. You're not clogging your drain or ruining anything. So there, we've drained our grease. Now we want to add the onion. With our beef still mostly piled off to the side, add your garlic. and your Italian seasoning. Next, we're going to add some flour to thicken everything up. This is basically the lazy man's roux, if you will. All right, we're going to crank the heat back up, add our beef stock. A lot of recipes that I have seen or have used in the past call to have the beef set aside while you're building the sauce. I personally like to leave it in because I just feel like it gives everything a bit better flavor. And then at this point, we're just going to add our tomato sauce. We're going to bring this back up to a boil. So guys, I'll be honest, the next couple of minutes of shooting was kind of painful to watch after a while. I said a lot of really great tips. I shared with you some reasoning behind the ways I do things, but to be honest, it just didn't make for good TV. So all of these little details that I'm talking about right now, they'll be shared in the recipe when I link it down below in my blog. Youngest has fought the good fight this afternoon and has refused to take a nap. So she's been up there talking and playing for 2.5 hours now. I give up, gonna bring her down. She's gonna have lunch. She's probably gonna be hangry. She's probably gonna be a little grumpy. So hopefully we can still have conversation while I'm cooking. There's a small chance that I may have to mute out what's going in the background. And right now we're just going to add the chickpeas to the heated oil. And then we're going to add some paprika, some smoked paprika and some red pepper flakes, some salt, and just kind of saute them up, crunch them up a little bit. So how many red pepper flakes you put in entirely depends on your preference level for spices. I would say start with 1/4 teaspoon and go from there. Lord help me, I forgot the garlic. Do not forget the garlic. It's almost sacrilegious in my kitchen. That's it for making the spiced chickpeas. If I was serving this right away, I would probably have cooked the chickpeas in the oil for a little bit longer to allow them to get a bit of a crisp to them. Because we're not going to be eating dinner for a few more hours, I know that all that work to crisp up the chickpea, it's just going to get lost as it sits there. So I'm not bothering with that step. If having a crispy chickpea is really important to you, take your time when you first add that to the oil. Don't add any seasonings because you don't want to burn the seasonings. We've reached the point in the day where I have run out of utensils. The dishwasher's going, but we still have about an hour before anything in there is ready. So baby spoons it is. So for the road, one of the things that I love the most is an everything bagel with cream cheese, but not so healthy for you. Probably another story for another time, but due to a lot of various medical things, I've put on weight in the last 5 to 6 years or so. And my husband and I are trying to make a conscious effort towards a healthier lifestyle, and that includes making healthier food choices. So one of the things that I like is a cream cheese substitute. So my favorite brand is Better Than. It's Better Than cream cheese. It's made by Tofutti. My grocery store didn't have any of the tofutti this time around, so I'm trying the So Delicious. It's a soy. So what I do, I take my everything bagel seasoning, I mix it in with the cream cheese, and then I usually do carrots or cucumbers, sliced up peppers. It satisfies the craving. I know it's not the same thing. Nothing beats a delicious warm bagel, but sometimes you have to find creative ways to still get the flavors that you crave without all the bad things that go with. Mixing in probably 2 tablespoons right now. It may turn into more. Oh, mixing with a baby spoon is hard work. This thing is bending. Yeah, we're gonna want more. Clean up in aisle 1. Pretty sure I'll be finding poppy seeds for a month. Oh well, we carry on. Stuff happens. We are in the home stretch now and almost finished for the day. So grab your feta and slice it into about 1/4 inch thickness. Go ahead and line them up on a paper towel in a single layer. And make sure to press firmly on the paper towel, pausing while you go along the way, to allow the paper towel to really absorb the liquid. Don't rush this part. Make sure to press lightly on the sides as well. When coating the cheese with the cornstarch, definitely make sure to rub or knock off the excess. And be careful when dropping the feta into the hot oil so as to not burn yourself. I used a fork to do this. Be sure to wait a full 3 minutes on each side to allow for a really good crisp. Don't get frustrated if your feta comes apart a bit when frying. Mine certainly did. And I promise you it was still delicious. Make sure to set it on a paper towel to drain after you fry it. To plate, you want to put down the Orzo pasta first, followed by chickpeas, the lemon dill sauce, and then top with your feta. And as always, you'll find these recipes linked below in the description. And while you're there, don't forget to click like and subscribe. See you next week. Thanks for watching.